Okay, hello middle school. Today I'm going to show you how to make this Mexican inspired cacti painting. This is based on the artwork done by Southwest Native Americans. You can notice the colors in the pot are very, very vibrant. The picture is of succulents and cacti. These are plants that you would find in the areas where the Native Americans live, the Southwest Native Americans live. So I'm going to walk you through the steps on how to do this. Okay, materials that you're going to need: a Sharpie. Get the fine tip one, you need the wider. You need a pencil, an eraser, I'll have to grab one. You're going to need Q-tips. I gave you these in that kit that was sent home. A little cup of baby oil. This is not water, this is baby oil. We're going to do some blending with this. You are going to need watercolors, and I sent that set with you. And you're also going to need some oil pastels, and you also have a set of those. In your kit, you will find a piece of watercolor paper. If you pick it up and you feel it, you can feel that it's kind of rigid. You are also going to need the references that I sent home with you too, the one for the succulent and the cactus, and then the one for the geometric designs. If you recall from the Southwest Native American art, they use a lot of geometric designs in their pottery. So you're going to be decorating your pottery with a couple of these designs. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to get started with is sketching out your pot. That's going to be the start of it. So I'm just going to get my area. Oh, you're also going to need a paper towel to clean your oil pastels. So what I would like you to start out with is drawing the pot of your the succulents, okay, and the cactus. So I'm going to make about halfway, right in the middle of my paper, right, I'm going to make an kind of like an arch like this. Okay, this is going to be the top rim of my pot. And if you notice, I'm sketching pretty lightly. If you have a tendency to use a really heavy pressure when you draw, try to make an effort to back off the pressure. It's just much easier to erase your mistakes. My sides of my pot are going to come next. They're going to get smaller and smaller as we go towards the bottom of the pot. And now the very bottom of the pot, I am going to mimic this line that I just made here. Notice how it kind of swoops. I'm going to do the same thing, that same kind of swoop right at the bottom. Okay? I often see students make like a pot like this with straight across the top and straight across the bottom. Okay, I want you guys to do this instead with a curving line and then another curving line at the bottom. Okay, we're going to make it look more three-dimensional and realistic. Okay, so there I have my pot drawn. Now I am going to pick out which cactuses that I want to put in here, and the succulents. So I like to start out with the larger ones, and you put those in the back. We are going to create the illusion of space by overlapping our objects. So again, I'm sketching really lightly, and I'm going to draw this one right here. I think that's really interesting, this one, if you can see them. Yeah, right here. I think that's a really interesting shape. I also want you to think about how you're going to balance your drawing. I wouldn't have all of the plants on one side. That would be an unbalanced drawing. So really try to keep that in mind too when you're picking out your plants and you're arranging them. So I'm going to take this guy right up to the top. And if it doesn't look exactly like the reference, that's okay. I really don't want you to copy it exactly. It's just there to give you a guide. Okay, So I have my first one drawn in. Again, notice how lightly I sketched it. Okay, so now I'm gonna pick another one, and I'm gonna put this one over to the side, and then I'm gonna layer some other ones on top of it. So I think I'm gonna go with, this one. That's really an interesting shape. And I did not draw the back of my pot in yet, okay, not yet. So this one, again, I'm gonna just start sketching it in. If you're noticing, middle schoolers, when I sketch, I don't make one continuous line. I kind of make short little light strokes to figure out the shape. And when I've got that narrowed down, then I can kind of come back in and finalize it a little bit more. I think that's a really good technique to use when you're drawing. It's something that my grandpa taught me how to do when I was a little kid. He was actually pretty good at drawing. Okay, so I'm gonna do the bottom. Okay, so now I've got two succulents. And do you notice right here, middle schoolers, I have this one overlapping? That tells me that this plant is closer to me than this plant. So when it comes time to erase, I'm going to erase out this line right here. Okay, so it'll look like this one is in front of that one. That's how you show space in your work. Okay, so now I'm gonna go with another one. Now this time I'm gonna do something that is a completely different shape and maybe a little bit shorter. So I think what I'll do is I'll go for this one right here. Okay, I'd like you to be able to get maybe 4 plants in your pot. So again, I'm drawing really lightly. I'm going right over top of my other ones. And because I'm drawing lightly, I'm going to be able to get those lines out of there really easy. And it'll make my craftsmanship stand out. Okay, so this little guy is going to go right over top. I can draw in these lines that give it its shape. Do you notice too, students? I'm going to zoom in on this visual reference. Like this little fat cactus, the lines curve. These are called cross contour lines. Cross contour lines follow the shape of the object that you're drawing. They're not straight down. The only one that is straight down is that center one. The other ones curve. So if you can put that into your drawings too, that would be wonderful. Okay, so let me zoom back out here. There we go. Okay, and I'm going to keep drawing, looking at my visual reference, making those cross contour lines. It's just going to make your objects look more realistic. Now I'm going to put the spikes on here too. I will come back in when I do my Sharpie outline, and I'm going to outline those in black Sharpie. Again, this little short succulent or cactus is in front of this one. So when I erase this out, I'm going to leave this one here, and I'm going to erase out the lines behind it. Okay, I'm going to fit one more cactus in there. I don't have a lot of room. But, oh, you know what? I might do this one. It's got a nice little flower on it. That might be really interesting. So he's just going to kind of sneak right in here. And maybe he's not quite as big as the one on my reference, but that's okay. It's your cactus. You make it however you want. Maybe he's just a little guy. Okay, and then there's a nice flower on there. I think that will give it some real interest and a little pop of color. And again, I'm just sketching it in really lightly. I'll come back in later with my Sharpie and I'll draw my lines in a little bit better, okay? So now I am going to come back in here and I'm going to erase out my lines. I forgot my eraser. Oh, no, I have one. Here we go. Okay, so I'm going to erase out my lines of the cactuses that are behind so I don't get confused and outline the wrong ones with my Sharpie. If I do, not a big deal. You could probably cover it with a darker colored oil pastel. It's not a big deal if you make a mistake. There's usually ways to hide it or incorporate it into your drawing. Okay, so I think the succulents are pretty much done. I could put some contour lines. Oh, see, I started drawing with my mechanical pencil, and look at how much darker that line is. This is a drawing pencil, and I'll explain these to you guys at another point. But if you're using a regular pencil, use a really, really light pressure, okay? Because look at how much different they are. That line right in there. Okay, now I want to put the geometric patterns. Remember, Southwest Native American art uses a lot of geometric patterns, so I'd really like you to use this visual reference. We need to put the rim of our pot on. So I'm going to start that right over here at the top, at the left, and I'm going to work around, and I'm going to mimic that curve that I made at the beginning of my pot. Okay, so that's the rim of the pot. If you can see it on this one, this is what I just put in here, the rim right here. Okay, now to get my my geometric designs in there, I'd like you to kind of put in a series of stripes. But notice what I'm doing, middle schoolers. I am following the curve again. I'm following that curve again. I'm not going straight across like this. I'm following the curve of that pot. Again, we want to make it look realistic. So you can put in, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 stripes. I think I'll do one more down here. Okay, so I've got 4 areas to work in. Now I'm going to pick my patterns that I would like to do. I like these patterns because they're not so small that it's going to be hard to add in the color from the oil pastel. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start out with this one right here, that zigzag, and I'm just going to go up and down with a zigzag pattern, moving all the way across the pot. And maybe one's there. Okay, so there's one of the designs. It hits the top and the bottom of each of those lines that are curving across. Now, I think my next one I'm gonna do, I might do this one, that kind of that bump with the circle in the middle. I think that's a really interesting pattern. So again, I'm gonna start right over here and just kind of bump it down. If you have your own geometric patterns to use, you absolutely can. I am just giving you a visual reference because sometimes it's kind of hard to come up with ideas. And if I'm not there with you, it's kind of hard sometimes too to visualize what I would like you to do. So in the center of these, we're going to put a little circle. If you're using like circles or squares, don't worry about using a template, okay? Remember, their pottery is handmade. They don't take a stencil or a machine and put their shapes and their designs in there. So I really don't want your work looking like it was made by a machine either. I want you to put some life into your work, okay? Now this one, what I think I might do is do my own pattern. Maybe I'll do like some dashes across. And I'm making the dashes wider so I can really fill them up with color and make them stand out. And I think I'm going to leave this bottom one just a solid color. Okay, so right now I've got most of it done, except for the problem is my pot is floating in air. And I can fix that problem really, really easily by just drawing in a horizontal line on one side and then at the same point on the other side. Now it looks more like it's sitting on a table or maybe on the ground or something like that. Okay, so we're done with the pencil. We're done with the reference for now. You're going to grab your fine tip Sharpie. I think this one is good. Yep. And you're going to go back in here and you're going to outline everything that you've drawn in with pencil. If your Sharpie starts to get bad and starts to run out, please get a new one. Hopefully you have access to one at home, or if you are with me in class, make sure that you ask me for one. At this point, guys, I really want you to focus on your work and pay attention to where you're drawing. It's really easy to get talking to somebody else or distracted, and you put a line where you didn't want it. And obviously, Sharpie can't be erased. Okay, so I'm going to continue with this. Just outlining everything that I've drawn in, really paying attention to what is in front and what is in back. Remember, we're making the illusion of space and depth in your work. This little cactus looks almost like a tomato. But I think once I make him green, he won't look like a tomato. Okay, so now I'm going to put that cool little flower on the top. Okay, I'm going to look at my visual reference again to what the inside of that flower looks like. If you guys hear that clicking noise in the background, that's my daughter Olivia. Hi. There she is. She's working on art too. Okay. All right, so it's starting to look more and more like a potted cactus. Okay, I'm going to continue doing this. Now I'll start to outline my design, my pattern. And I'm almost done. Now when I'm doing this zigzag, I find it works best. You guys notice I'm turning my paper back and forth and I'm pulling the Sharpie towards my body. If I go up with my Sharpie, it doesn't matter how steady your hand is, it's going to kind of jump and be shaky. I find that you get the best line if you pull the Sharpie towards your body. Just a little tip for you. Okay, now I'm going to add in some of the details to these cactuses that I was talking about. This little guy right here has little spots all over him. So I think I'm going to draw some of those in. So he's got little polka dots all over. And when it's time to add oil pastel to these, I am going to do, I think, maybe a lighter green on those. I think that could be really cool. Looks like he has chicken pox. Okay, now I'm going to put in this little guy. I'm going to put in those cross contour lines. Remember, those are lines that follow the shape of the object that you're drawing. They kind of remind me of like the segments of a pumpkin. Okay, and then I really like these little pokey things that are on him. I'm gonna guess he's got little spikes all over. And they kind of go in different directions. Maybe I'll have this one going right there. And then I might see some up here on top. And I'm going to put some on the sides here too. Make it look a little bit more realistic. Okay, so that one's done. Let's see, which was the other one I was doing? Oh, the one with the stripes. I don't think I'm going to put the stripes on this one. I think I'm going to put those stripes in with the white. If I made them with the Sharpie, I think they'd be too close together. So that one I'm going to leave alone. And then this last little guy, we're going to put those cross contour lines in again. There, and I think that's it for him. Okay, so now you're going to use your eraser and erase out all those pencil lines. This is part of your craftsmanship that I'm going to be looking for. If you took the time to erase out your lines, clean your work up, I'm looking for a good effort as well. Because on the lighter colors, your pencil marks will definitely show up. Notice, middle schoolers, how easy my lines are erasing out because I used a light pressure. Crazy. Okay. So I'm gonna get all the stuff off of there. All right. There's my cactus. I am ready to go. As I'm critiquing my work, I just kind of pulled my work away from me and I looked at it. One thing, if I could change this, I think I would lower this whole composition down a little bit on the page. I think that is one thing that I would change about my artwork right now. So I should have looked at that when I had it sketched out with a pencil. So just be aware of that, guys, okay? See, even I make mistakes. All right, so next thing that you're gonna do is you're gonna grab your oil pastels. I know you don't have as many as I do, but you do have a good amount of them in the bag that was made for you. I want to talk to you a little bit about oil pastels because some of you have some older ones and you might be thinking they're really gross and why did Mrs. Doro give me these? She does not like me. I do like you, and I'm going to show you how my daughter Olivia thought that was funny. I do like you, and I'm going to show you how to clean them off, okay? So this one, it's a light color, and you can see I've got some stuff on there. different colors. I don't want that on there. If I was to start drawing with this right now, I would transfer, it looks like orange and blue into my yellow, and I would be upset about that. So take a paper towel and just really easily just rub across the top of it, and it's all cleaned up. Okay, it looks like it's brand new, like it's never been used. So especially on your lighter colors, you're gonna see that. So you can clean some of those oil pastels up that I gave you that look kind of bad, like this one, look at that, it's all gross. You can clean that up really, really easily. Okay, so go to the kitchen and get a paper towel. Oh, that's stubborn. Okay, good. All right, so that's a little bit about cleaning them. Okay, so now comes the fun part, guys. The magic is going to happen with the baby oil. So you are going to need, obviously, your oil pastels, your drawing, your baby oil, and Q-tips. I gave all of you some Q-tips, and I hope that that was enough. And what you're going to start doing is adding color to your work. You can use the visual reference as a guide, or you can kind of go with your own colors. I would like it to look realistic. I do not want purple and blue cactuses. Okay, you can add in the fun colors and stuff down here in the pottery. Cactuses, I would like to look realistic. All right, so keep that in mind, guys. Realistic cactuses. Put it in your head. I'm also going to suggest that you work from the left side of your paper to the right. I am right-handed, so that's the way I'm going to work. The reason why I'm doing that is so I don't drag my hand through my oil pastels and smear it and get my hand all nasty, okay? If you are left-handed, you're going to start on the right side of your page adding color and work your way across. Do not add oil pastels to the background yet, to the wall or the table. Don't add those in yet. That's going to be watercolor. All right, so I think I'm gonna pick up a darker oil pastel for this big cactus over here. Now, if you are layering colors, middle schoolers, you are going to lay down the lighter of the two colors first. Then you add on the darker color on top. If I was to try to layer a light color over this really dark green, I'm going to show you. I'm going to pick up a light green and I'm going to try to layer it on top of here. It doesn't really show up. That dark green is so intense that there's no way that that light green is going to show up. So if I wanted to have light green areas in here, start with the light green. Then you can take the darker color with a light pressure or a heavier pressure and add that in. Okay, so just a little information about that. So I'm going to go along and I'm going to add color, almost like a coloring book with the black outline. Try to stay in the lines, guys. I said it. Stay in the lines. Okay, and fill in your work. I'm not applying a ton of pressure that I break the oil pastel, but I am pushing fairly hard because I want to have really, really colorful cactuses. Okay, I'm not going to do the whole cactus right now because that's going to take forever. So here comes the magic, guys, with the baby oil. Here we go. I'm going to zoom in on this so you guys can see this. This is really cool. I've never done this before. I thought this was really neat. So take your Q-tip, just dip it slightly into the baby oil. You don't need to have a ton on there. And you're just going to really gently take that baby oil on the Q-tip and really lightly rub it across the oil pastel. And you notice what it's doing. Very impressive. The oil pastel is obviously oil-based, and then you add baby oil to it, which kind of softens the oil in the oil pastel, and it makes it very similar to paint. This is a really cool technique. Notice, guys, it's getting rid of all the little white spots from the texture of my of my paper. Don't apply a lot of pressure, because if I do, it's really easy to wipe all the oil pastel out. Okay, a little bit of pressure. You don't want the oil, the baby oil, like dripping from your Q-tip. And what I can do too, guys, notice this. I can even go along a little bit more with my Q-tip, and I can almost like continue to paint with it. Isn't that cool? And your artwork smells good. It smells like a baby. Okay, so now I'm going to come in here and I'm going to do, oh, I want to show you another thing. While the oil is still wet on the surface, you can see it's kind of shiny. You can take another oil pastel and go right over top of it. And you can add in some really cool details. Just little hints of different color and things like this. I think this might be one of my new favorite techniques. Yeah, okay, so, oh, look at, I've got it all gross. I'm gonna grab my paper, wipe it off. Now I'm gonna come back in here, and I want these little spots to be like a lighter green. Again, I could take my oil pastel, or excuse me, my Q-tip, a little bit of baby oil, and I'm just gonna dab it on there. Now, I gave you quite a few Q-tips because you're gonna go through these pretty fast. I hope you have more at home in case I didn't give you enough, but I would pick a Q-tip for each color, okay? And then, you know, just have the garbage can nearby. You might want to put something on your table too, the surface that you're working on, because I do not want that to ruin the table, okay? So I'm gonna continue doing this all the way across my cactuses and my succulents. I'm gonna come back to you guys when I get down to the pottery. All right, I'll see you in a little bit. Bye-bye.